So human trafficking has obviously been an age-old problem, a crime that's been occurring in this country for decades or forever probably. It's kind of come onto the radar in London in recent years. The police have really been focused on sex trafficking, and London is considered to have a high rate of sex trafficking, we hear, probably because we're on the 401 along the corridor. There's a lot of hotels and motels, which makes it easy to move women and girls in and out and kind of move them along to different hotels in different cities along the corridor, and London has a lot of hotels there.
So sex trafficking is a much more heinous crime because it involves the exploitation and forcible confinement. It can involve violence against women and threats, coercion, and preventing them from living their lives.
I should start by saying that the majority of the girls and women who are recruited into trafficking have had in their past a link to either trauma, sexual assault of some nature, addiction issues, mental health issues. But not all. Some of the girls that are trafficked are from great families and great homes.
I was forced to work in the strip bars. Now, anybody who tells you that a strip bar is just dancing is either lying to you or has never been to one. Okay, because these men don't go pay that kind of money for nothing. And I'll tell you about how a strip bar works. You have to pay for the privilege of working in a strip bar. Okay, you don't get paid to work there. So you pay to work there, and then you have to do a minimum of 4 hours there, and you have to do a minimum of 3 stage shows. The first song you walk, you're fully clothed. The second song, you have to take a top or a bottom off. The third song, you're naked. And all the while that you're on stage, you've got men, because there's something called Perverts Row. Often men are masturbating there while you're on stage, or they're catcalling you, telling you that their granny's got nicer tits than you do. And the whole time you're up there, you have to smile because that's considered advertising. You hope that once you're off the stage, the guys in the audience liked enough of what they saw of you that they will take you into the back and get dances, because that's where you make the money. So, and often the song that's playing in the background is It's Only Fun When the Stripper's Crying. So you gotta smile that whole time. So you gotta go, and then you get off the stage and you gotta walk around the floor and ask guys if they wanna dance. And you hope that some guy will take you back and what I call sexually assault you. Now you pay, it's roughly in Canada, it's about $20 a song. So you dance per song. And a song lasts 4 to 5 minutes. So that's $20 before any extras. And I'm talking oral sex, I'm talking manual sex, I'm talking that kind of stuff. But now the traffickers sit on the floor. You take the customer back to an area where there's sofas. The traffickers and the pimps sit on the floor, and they can count how many songs you've been back there. So they know roughly how much money you should be coming back out with. So you can't hide any money, and you hand the money straight over. I saw lots and lots of girls in that position. If you're there long enough, you recognize who is controlling who and who is being controlled by who.
They taught me some of the stuff, how to do it. Just like in sex, no girl goes out and she's just instantly a prostitute, knows how to be a prostitute. She's trained into it. They trained me into it. You're going to this. And if I failed, I learned very fast because I got hurt every time that I didn't produce. So I learned from my mistakes very quickly. Just like in prostitution, if a girl or a boy, it doesn't matter what the gender is, in prostitution, if they don't bring back a certain amount of money because they didn't follow the rules that are set out, they're going to get hurt very quickly, and they're going to learn to do what's necessary to survive. Well, it's the same thing in forced illegal activities. It's the same thing in labor trafficking. You're going to produce the amount that's mandated and necessary to keep yourself from being hurt further.
Mine was minimum $500 a day. Yeah. And they would never give us any money. And often for myself, I never got any food either. I would have to go at night on my bicycle and climb into dumpsters looking for unopened sanitary products and unopened food so that I could eat. Was the only way I got food. And that's what they do, is they exhaust the girl, they make her hungry, she's completely dependent on him for everything. And that's another reason why they don't leave, because they're unable to help themselves. There are girls that have been taken out of the life and put in a restaurant and given a menu to choose what they want, and they're incapable of choosing their own food because they've never been allowed to make a decision for themselves. I had to learn how to sign my name again because for 8 years I never held a pen. I didn't know how to sign my signature anymore.
And that's probably what we see mostly in London, is that we see most of these girls are recruited into the game by a man that pretends to be her boyfriend.
So they have vast networks that go into different countries, and it could be China or Eastern Europe is a big source. And they talk to girls and lure them and say, you know, hey, let's come to America, come to Canada. We have a great opportunity for you. You know, you can be a waitress or a dancer, and they bring them over here. And then they take their passport away from them and say, you know, you now owe us $50,000 and you need to work it off. And so they're put in a room where they have to have sex with 15 or 20 men a day to pay that back. But of course, they don't see any of that money. Their pimp takes it or their handler takes it, and they are now a trafficked person.
In sex trafficking, both men and women can be offenders. Both men and women can be victims. But the statistics show that the majority of the offenders are male and the majority of victims are female and youth. That doesn't mean that women and girls don't exploit each other, but it's not as common. So we do have situations where women have trafficked other women, but it is not as common as men trafficking women.
The root cause is poverty. The root cause is patriarchy and poverty. And those are big, big issues. And those poverty can only really be addressed by the government. The government needs to recognize this and address it. And I'm talking about that issue is the same in every country on this planet. And patriarchy too. Men need to know that sex is not a commodity. You can't purchase flesh. Okay, that's not okay. But that can be attacked through education. And that's what we do in the London Anti-Human Trafficking Committee, is we go out and we educate the public. And that's what the John School does. It teaches the men that women are not for sale. Women and children are not for sale.
And I think Bill C-36 is a great thing because, well, up until a couple of years ago, prostitution was perfectly legal. And the problem is they were prosecuting the women, or if it was a man, the man prostitute. So the women are the ones getting arrested and then getting criminal records, which are held against them, and then they can't find a job down the road because they have this criminal record. Now they flipped it around, and I think this is much better. It's the Johns and the pimps that can be arrested. So I'm able to tell my clients that like to use escorts and prostitutes, because none of them know about this bill. I say, did you know that for the first time ever, now you can be arrested and go to jail for soliciting the services of a prostituted woman? That kind of shocks them.
I also think that's important for potential Johns to see. If you hear from these girls and women who were certainly not there at their own will and not enjoying themselves and felt tortured and trapped, maybe that would change kind of the behavior maybe of people that are in the market or buying these services.
I spoke at another conference a couple of years ago, and I asked the parents in the room, I said, how many of your kids or grandkids have a cell phone? Kids here, because this is kids. And a whole bunch of people put up their hand. And I said, how many of those kids have a filter on their phone installed by you to block pornography? I think I had one hand up. I said, you're negligent and you're really ignorant, because you need to realize the world that you're living in. You just handed your child a porn store that they can access anything you can imagine in seconds, and you haven't talked to them about it, and you haven't put any safeguards on it?
But the fact is, it's also right here in our backyards. To keep pretending that it's only in some place in a sweatshop with only little kids, that's not true. It's right here with our little kids. It's right here with our adults. Stop putting people into boxes. that only this population it happens to. It's not,
Okay, yeah, just keep talking to people about it. I mean, that's what we do, right? Keep finding out what's new, talk to people who are involved with this coalition. You know, talk to hotel owners, what do they see, what do they know? Talk to police who are working with it, you know, what's the latest, what's happening. That's kind of what we do, find information other ways that we do. Yeah.
How can any person believe that a woman chooses to be sexually violated by sometimes 15 men in a day? That's not a choice.